Okay, today is August 1st, and it's going to be a much interesting and exciting episode for everybody. As you all know, the last two episodes I reviewed the pre-shows of the Stardom 5-star Grand Prix. Well, I get to tell you guys that is over. We're going to do, of course, the full shows that took place. So we got day 1 and day 2. And also, we're going to continue more with the Tokyo Joshi Pro Wrestling Princess Cup. We are now entering with the final 4 that we'll see who will challenge for the Princess of Princess Championship. And of course, I said I was going to do this in the last episode, Ric Flair's last match. But now we get to do that as well. But also, we cannot forget, since it's Monday, it's AEW Dark Elevation. And of course, we got some news updates that I want to share what's been going on in the world of pro wrestling. So, let's get ready for another episode of the Leader Wrestler Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Okay, so let's talk about Stardom, the 5-star Grand Prix. This is day 1, the full show. Now, I'm not going to review the pre-show because I already did that. And the same thing I'm going to do with the second day. Now, it starts up with 3 matches involving the Red Star blocks. First one is Saki versus Unagi Sayaka. Now, these two are part of the same team together, Cosmic Angels and Colors. That kind of goes out a pretty good way. Now, however, this is Saki's first time being in this particular tournament. She won the prize since she was the surprise X member to be part of it back in June, and she did pretty well. I have to say, it was a really interesting matchup between the two. Now, Unagi has never backed down from a fight, even if she has to face her own teammate. But this is a very unique match in certain ways, because there were times Unagi wanted to tag with Saki, but Saki was reluctant. Nothing she had against her. It's just that, she's not, doesn't know how to warm up or open up to anybody. But it was Saki who picked up the win with the Koala Brainbuster, and it was over, giving her first 2 points in this particular match. So I had to say it was pretty good on this matter. So now, second match, we have Risa Sera versus Micah, Prominence versus DDM. Now, if you guys know the history between these two teams, they hate each other completely. I know for a fact Micah would do whatever it takes to shut up Risa Sera once and for all. I know Julia would have enjoyed that, but unfortunately, Risa Sera is a very strong competitor. I don't think Micah's ever dealt with her as a singles competitor ever, but it was the double diving knee drop onto the abdomen that gave Risa Sera her first win. And keep in mind, this is her first win as well, so she gained 2 points in this particular matchup. Our next match, we have Azumi versus Sudi. Now, keep in mind, in this particular, the dynamics is Azumi is a high speedster high speedster, that's her main weapon, but her other weapon, she can apply a submission technique, numero uno. But Julia, she is an MMA fighter who is highly skilled in martial arts and can put up a bit of submission. But however, none of that helped out for Azumi. She was put under submission by Sudi, and she had no other choice but to tap out, giving Sudi her first 2 wins. Now, Natsupoi was, on the other hand, doing commentary. She showed up in the second match between Risa Sera and Micah. All of a sudden, she was interrupted by Starlight Kid, her rival, because they've been going back and forth at each other for quite some time. However, I think this match was very interesting because of certain individuals that Kid has her eyes set. This is a tag match not involving the 5-star Grand Prix. Team number one is Queen's Quest, Lady C, and Saya Kamitani. Now, I want to put on a note here. Lady C comes out with her new jacket type that we see Queen's Quest wear. Now, Lady C had to earn those jacket, as you know, because she hasn't fully shown much about how committed she is. It looks like now stepping up to be Kamitani's tag partner, giving her those colors. However, their opponents is none other than the reunited team of Kairi and Nanane Takahashi. Now, these two known each other before, they have fought against each other, but later they became a strong tag team, and I think it was pretty cool. Now, Supo, on the other hand, was happy because she's going to be teaming with Kairi in the following day, and we'll get to that. I thought this match was incredible because it showed how Kairi's saying it still has it, but it was Nanane Takashi who picked up the win when she applied a somewhat of a frog splash type maneuver onto Lady C to win. However, these ladies seems like they have other plans. Nanane Takahashi had declared she wants to challenge for the red belt, and you know Sudi will never back down from a challenge, especially if it's someone in the caliber of Takahashi. However, Takahashi took a swing at Sudi, and Ami Sudi tried to defend, but Takahashi, she is too much of a veteran to be handled with. Now, however, while that was happening, we did see Kairi actually challenge the white belt against Kamitani. Now, Kamitani was crying, but the obvious question does remain now. Does she has what it takes to beat her? We don't know. This is a huge pressure coming into her because this is she is going to be facing against someone of a higher caliber. But we'll see what happens then. Now, our next match is the Blue Stars. We got Mirai versus Miyu Iwatani. This is a very unique match because, as you know, Mirai has been a rising star, the winner of the Cinderella tournament against the ace of a Grand Slam champion. And I think that tells us a lot. Now, Mirai has been very impressive with her win. People have opened up to her, they love her, and all that. But the obvious question is, can she submit the ace of Stardom? The obvious question, she did submit her with that little armbar type, and it was over right from there, giving her a huge victory over the ace. Now, our next match is a Red Star block. We have Himeka versus the former Wonder of World of Stardom champion, Utami Hayashida. Now, this is a very interesting matchup because, as you know, Himeka is a big individual, and she would do whatever it takes to win her match. That's always been the case. But the obvious question does remain. Does she have what it takes to put her away? That is yet to be seen. But it was Himeka with the running power bomb that gave her the win, and that added her with 2 points. Now, our main event is part of the Blue Star block. We have Julia versus Azuki. Now, these two ladies hate each other in every extent. Now, it has nothing to do who was the best. As you know, Azuki's problem she's had. If you remember, in 2019, she had Julia's first opponent was Azuki, but Azuki had issues towards outsiders coming into Stardom. Azuki is a Stardom bred. She was bred within the Stardom dojo. She feels that people like Julia are a problem, outsiders. And of course, Stars has one outsider, and that is Momokogo. But Momokogo is nothing compared like Julia. And this is like a rivalry coming. Even Julia says that things would have been better off with her not coming back. And that kind of goes out its own way. But Azuki, as you know, Azuki is the current Goddesses Tag Team Champions with Koguma, making a name for herself. But now she's facing against someone. Julia even tried to take her out, but it was Azuki who walked out as the victor. I have to say it was a pretty good match. I enjoyed it completely. So I think that's pretty much it with day one. I believe let's move on with day two. Okay, day two of Stardom's 5-star Grand Prix. This was a little different. As I mentioned, I will not do the pre-show since I already did those before. So let's get started. Our first match is from the Red Star block. We have Risa Sarah versus Saki. Now, this was a very tough individual. These are two of the outs of freelancers that are coming in to be part of it. Now, I know some of you probably say I was rooting for Saki, but I decided I wanted to be a bias because these are two fantastic wrestlers in their own right. But however, it was Risa Sarah that picked up the victory, and I'm sure this was a huge disappointing loss for Saki. But this is only one loss that hopefully will be maybe just doesn't repeat itself. So basically, right now, Risa Sarah only has 2 points in this particular um, on this particular day. So she's currently undefeated. Now, our next match is a very interesting one. But before we move on to that, we have for the commentary special, Maika will be making her appearance. I'm sure she probably would say negative comments about Natsupoi, but however, our next match involves Natsupoi. First things first is a tag match. We have the members of Stars, consistent of Saya Ida and Mayu Iwatani, that take on Natsupoi and, of course, the Pirate Princess Kairi. I thought this match was great because I'm Natsupoi has always admired uh, Kairi, and I know they always wanted to team up. And I think it showed a lot of character in this particular matchup because what I like is how Natsupoi would do anything for Kairi to ensure she picks up the victory because this is her return. Natsupoi just does what she feels is right, even if that means that Kairi has to pick up the win, which she did with the insane elbow. And I thought it was great. And I'd never seen Natsupoi this happy before, but it's great that she has. Now our next match is from the Red Star block. We have Himeka versus Tam Nakano. Now keep in mind, you probably would think Himeka will finally get her hands on Tam Nakano for what transpired with Natsupoi. And you know for a fact, but if I was Natsupoi, I would not be there in front of Himeka because she will be targeting her no matter what. But the good thing is, they're not part of the same block, and that tells us a lot. But it was Tam Nakano who refused to give up, and she was able to pick up the victory when she applied the Tiger Suplex onto Himeka, giving her 2 points. So this is her first win so far, and Himeka, she already has one win and one loss, so total of 2 points. Now our next two matches are involving um, the Blue Star blocks. We got Mirai versus Julia. Now this is a match in the making or long time coming. If you remember, Mirai first came to Stardom and joined DDM from the very beginning. But in April, during the first night of the Cinderella tournament, Mirai made the decision to leave DDM to join Suri's unit God's Eye. I'm sure Julia hasn't forgotten, but the real question is, can Mirai hold her composure? She knows that Julia will be coming for her, but however, Julia knew exactly the kind of moves that Mirai would apply. But this time, Mirai decided to go outside the box and use moves that I don't think she ever done before or will probably never do, picking up a good victory onto Julia, and she's currently undefeated. As for Julia, this is another blow. She has no wins so far, 2 losses so far. So what is that telling us about Julia? We don't know. But I would like to do an analysis on DDM's how things have been going for them. But right now, let's just keep on moving to the next match. This next match is between Starlight Kid versus Saya Kamitani. Now, these two ladies have confront each other before. Last time they confront each other was in Midsummer Champions 2022, where Starlight Kid was unable to obtain the white belt, but Kamitani. However, this time Starlight Kid was on a vengeance. She got her revenge when she pinned Kamitani. So this was another disappointing. This was a huge disappointing loss for Kamitani, but a great momentum for Kid. Now this could guarantee her that maybe one day she will challenge for the white belt, but we just don't know yet. Now our main event, this is between this is in the Red Star block. We have the former World of Stardom champion Utami Ayashida taking on Sudi. Now, some of you are saying Sudi probably have this in the back. Now, keep in mind, Sudi have already lost to Utami Ayashida before, but Utami somehow was able to overcome this and beat the woman who defeated her for the red belt. And I thought it was an amazing matchup. I thought it was great. I just didn't know what else could happen. But I have to say it was enjoyable. So I think that's pretty much it. What we got with Stardom. Keep in mind we will have more of it this coming weekend. Um, we'll keep apprised, and if there's any changes, as you know, Suzuki is going to be out for a while, but we'll find out. But at the moment, let's move on with Tokyo Joshi Pro Wrestling. Okay, we're in day 5 of the Tokyo Princess Cup 9 by Tokyo Joshi Pro. Now we only had our quarterfinal matches, but we'll get to that. But let's talk about the 3 non matches involving the Princess Cup. Our first match, we have tag team action. We got Julia Nagana teaming up with Moka Miyamoto. Now, for the record here, people should know that Julia was not participating in the tournament due to the fact of her schedule conflict. If you guys notice or not, she's a registered nurse. So that explains a lot. But she has teamed up with Moka Miyamoto before, but their opponents is none other than, of course, Arisu Endo and Maki Ito. Now, you probably would guessed it right that this one is definitely going on the bag of Maki Ito, because I know for a fact that Maki Ito is a strong wrestler, always the fan favorite. She did pull up the victory when she applied the Texas Cloverleaf onto Julia, giving her and Risu Endo the victory. Now, our next match, we have a 3-way match. We got Aruna Neko taking on Yuki Kamifuko and Mizuki. Now, my money was on Mizuki because she's like one of the most top popular wrestlers that we definitely enjoy. But then again, I did not anticipate Yuki Kamifuku to pick up the victory. As you know, she is one of the tallest women we have seen so far, and that's pretty much how it tells us. So she picked up the victory when she pinned Aruna Neko. Now our next match is a trios match. We have Kaya Toribami teaming with Mahito, Kiru, and Hyper Misao to take on Palm Harajuku, Raku, and Yuki Aria. Now, I did not anticipate a whole lot with Palm Harajuku and Raku and Yuki Aria teaming up great, because, as you know, I always say that Hyper Misao is the resident superhero that likes to cheat. But, however, this time it did not do so well for the opponent team. But it was a pretty good match because Yuki Arai, as you know, is one half of the Princess Tag Team Champions with Seki Akai. She was the one who picked up a victory onto Mahito Kiru, and it gave a good moment. So I have to say it was a pretty good one. Now our next 4 matches are part of the Princess Cup tournament. First match, we have Zuzumi versus Rika Tatsumi. I thought this match was unbelievable good. But one thing I did not anticipate was Zuzumi. Now, I have talked about Zuzumi, how much she has grown, how much she has been one of those wrestlers that I feel like she's in the rising up to the occasion, becoming one of the rising stars. She was the one who picked up the victory on Rika Tatsumi. Rika Tatsumi would have been the one to win this match, but it was Zuzumi who won, and I was in shock, but happy for her at the same time, because like I said, she has grown up, and I think it shows a lot. Now our next match, we have now Kakuta taking on Miyu Yamashita. Now Kakuta made the biggest mistake by attacking Yamashita before she got onto the ring, trying to get a head start, because everybody knows you do not escape from Yamashita, and that's exactly what happened. Yamashita took out, of course, Rika Tatsumi with that infamous kick. But I have to say, Kakuta, you made the biggest mistake by attacking her early, but you should have known better not to piss off the Pink Striker. Now our next match we have Hikari Noa taking on Yuka Sakazaki. Now Hikari Noa has a bit of a attitude, as you know, but so does Yuka Sakazaki. But it was Yuka Sakazaki that picked up the victory. I was like, okay. Now this next one is one of the most emotional ones I've ever watched. We have Miyu Watanabe taking on the champion Shoko Nakajima. Now some of you can say, oh, Shoko Nakajima has it in the bag. I would say I would believe that, but I would say I was surprised Miyu Watanabe walked out as the victor when she applied the teardrop onto Shoko Nakajima and won the match. Now, I was so shocked and surprised. But, however, there have been talks about how Miyu Watanabe has been one of those rising stars, just like Suzume. I mean, I know Joshi Pro has highest hope for her, and I think this is her time to shine. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if she wins it because this is not the first time she's ever fought for the Princess Championship. She had challenged it before, but that was with Rika Tatsumi. But now in the finals, in the final four, we have Suzume, Miyu Yamashita, Yuka Sakazaki, and Miyu Watanabe. We have two wrestlers who have been champions before, and we have two who are on the fast track. And I have to say, this is going to be one amazing semi-final matches we're definitely going to enjoy. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if Suzume has to challenge Miyu Yamashita or Yuka Sakazaki challenges Miyu Watanabe. I don't know, but I can't wait to see that. So, I think that's pretty much it with Joshi Pro. Let's move on with Ric Flair's last match. Okay, so let's talk about Ric Flair's last match now. Some of you may have been watching or been hearing about this for quite some time. So let's go from the pre-show all the way from the beginning to the end of the main card. So our opening match, we have the New Japan Young Lions and the LA Dojo making their appearance. We have Yuya Uemura taking on Ren Narita. Now these two guys, as you know, they're from the same, they're a year, classes they're a year apart. I thought this was a pretty good match because Young Lions are not afraid to throw down against each other. But it was Ren Narita who picked up the win, you know, because it's always been, because as you know, Ren Narita has been there on excursion a lot longer than Yuya Uemura that gave him much of the experience. Next match, well, we had of course Jay Lethal come out. It's not a match. Come out with Karen Jarrett to give it insults towards, of course, Ric Flair and all this other stuff. You know the story how it goes, it's been playing out. Now, before we were supposed to go to our next match, the Bunkhouse, we were interrupted by that dumb clown. Everybody's hate this guy from Warrior Wrestling or wherever he goes, Frank the Clown, saying all this stuff about Flair. But the Samoan werewolf, Jacob Fatu, had enough. Decided to deal with his ass, but eventually he ran like a coward. But luckily, Mick Foley showed up and fed him to the werewolf. He super kicked him and gave him, you know, that running butt thing right there, and he'll let him dead right there. I thought it was great. Now our match, the Bunkhouse, we had like too many wrestlers. We had guys like Commander, a few others, but apparently the match was invaded by GCW. I did not expect that. For all you GCW fans out there, I did not anticipate that, because truth to be told, I just didn't think this was gonna happen, but it did. I was surprised. I'm sure you guys were surprised too. But Bully Ray was not happy to see them. He even tricked Effie, tried to do the Devon thing, but it didn't work. But the last two in this particular match was Mance Warner and Bully Ray, until somehow Mance Warner was able to put over the ropes Bully Ray and win the match, get this boot and this thing. So I thought it was pretty cool to see you know, the match won or win. Not that it was interesting that GCW made their invasion. I just didn't anticipate that at all, but it was great. I liked it. Now, our next match, starting from the main card, we have the Motor City Machine Guns versus the American Wolves. Now, you can call it as a dream match representing the Impact Wrestling. These two teams hasn't seen each other for almost 12 years. That was the first and only time until today. Well, on this particular day, on the 31st of July. But I thought the match was great because we have this is like more of a generational type match, if you understand. Like the Motor City Machine Guns were the ones that revolutionized tag team Impact Wrestling, and after them it was the American Wolves. And I thought it was a great match because it, there's nothing wrong with generational wrestling, from one generation to the next generation, that sort of thing. But I was a bit biased. I wasn't sure how this is going to go, but it was, I believe, Chris Sabin with the shell shock that picked up the win. The win. I was like, well, at least these guys pulled it off. Now, our next match, we have a bit of representation of MLW. We have Davey Boy Smith Jr. taking on Killer Cross. I thought this match was interesting because you have a bit of the throwdown this much, but one thing I knew for a fact that Killer Cross was going to walk out because if you ever seen him, you know he's going to try to get something done. And that's what he did. Next match, we have a four-way. We have Konosuke Takeshita versus Alan Five Angels versus Nick Wayne and versus Jonathan Gresham. But you know this is going to be a good match because we have four of the interesting wrestlers. Takeshita, who is the rising star. Alan Five Angels tearing it up in the independents. Nick Wayne, the same thing. And of course, Gresham, we all know his repertoire. I thought it was great, but this ended in the favor of Jonathan Gresham. You know how this is going to go. He's now making headways in his own way. But recently, there's been some developments. It turned out that he deactivated the Twitter account to Terminus. We don't know, maybe because of what happened with him in AEW / Ring of Honor, but we'll see what happens then. Now, our next match is more of a tag team generational. We have Kerry and Ricky Von Morton with Robert Gibson, as you know, representing like the somewhat of the Rock and Roll Express, taking on the somewhat of the Four Horsemen. So we have, of course, Brock Anderson with Brian Pillman Jr. and Arn Anderson was there. But I think I like how certain tag team techniques were being done. Brian Pillman, I don't know, there are those that even talked about that he should just step away from being part of the Varsity Blondes and team up with Brock and form a somewhat version of the Four Horsemen. I mean, that would be a good idea, but don't know if that would be possible. But never, like the old saying goes, never say never. But it was Brian Pillman that allowed Brock Anderson to pick up the win. Now, our next match, we have, of course, Bandito versus Black Taurus versus Laredo Kid versus Ray Horace. This is all AAA style. High spots, you know how it's going to be. Now, anything could happen in this type of match because luchadors are the most craziest people we ever meet because they know how to put on a good show. I should know because I grew up watching this stuff. And Ray Phoenix was the one who picked up a huge win on this one. I was like, wow, great. I love it. Our next match, we have the Impact World Championship on the line. We had Jacob Fatu versus the champion Josh Alexander. I thought this match was unbelievably amazing. But unfortunately, this match ended in no contest with the arrival of Brian Myers and Matt Cardona, along with that idiot attorney, Smart Mark Sterling. Now, Sterling saying that he was disgusted that no one invited them to this thing. Now, they tried to fight back, but however, the best moment is, I don't know, Matt Cardona knows that he cannot take on Josh Alexander, but he got bang by DDP. This has got to be the worst thing that he ever been through. So that's really interesting. Now, our next match, we have two different sets of brothers. We got the Briscoe brothers, Jay and Mark, versus Ross and Marshall Von Erich. We all know how this is gonna be. I think this was a pretty good tag team match. Now, I'm not saying this is a generational thing. This is more of the who has the most cohesiveness between amongst brothers, and I think we've seen that. We've seen that with the Bucks and Lucha Brothers. We've seen that with the Hardys. I'm trying to remember any other. Oh yeah, Top Flight. We've seen those types, and I think this is one of those examples that we can see. But we've seen how the Briscoes are. They are one of those tough SOBs that you enjoy, and they picked up a nice win with whatever they call that Mark pulled off, and I thought it was great. So they won this match. Now our next match, the semifinal. We have the Impact Knockouts Championship. Deonna Purrazzo versus Rachel Ellering versus Jordan Grace. I thought this match was good too because, as you know, Jordan Grace, she knows how to wrestle and she's not afraid to go up against one of her closest friends, Rachel Ellering, and I thought it shows a lot of character. But it was Jordan Grace who poked up the somewhat of a sleeper role onto Rachel Ellering and retained the title. Now our main event, we have of course Jay Lethal with Jeff Jarrett along with Karen Jarrett to take on Andrade El Idolo, and of course we cannot forget his father-in-law, 16-time world champion Ric Flair. Now some people think that maybe this was a very not so much of a good match, but but to me it feels like a story type, because Jarrett and Flair, they always had been at each other's throats in the past. And I have to say, I like how Andrade stepped up the plate to help his father-in-law. It was a great moment. And it was Flair who walked out the victor when he applied the figure four leg lock onto Jarrett to win the match. But Lethal, he was taken out all thanks to the guitar, but the misfired by Jeff Jarrett on the guitar thanks to Andrade saving his father-in-law from certain danger. But that's how it ends. So it ends with Flair, and then what he did after, he said he's going to party. And there was someone who posted a photo that had the look of Mick Foley and Undertaker, who were there too, saying, they're like, "Isn't it your past your bad time?" I thought it was a funny moment, but it was great, I think. But the match itself, I wasn't too sure because of Ric Flair's age. But it kind of did okay in its own way. So we'll see what happens once people talk about this. But right now, let's move on to our last review, which is AEW Dark Elevation. Okay, so we have AEW Dark, Dark Elevation. My bad. So we start up with Julie Hart versus LMK. Don't know who she is, but I can tell you this match ended with a very interesting submission by Julie. As you know, all her matches she ends with submissions. That's pretty common now in her repertoire. So let's move on to the next match. As you know, we got the newest baddie, if that's what Stokey Hathaway thinks, Layla Gray taking on JC. It showed a lot of promising with Layla Gray, but however, as you know, in story wise, Jade Cargill and Kyrie Hogan are not too convinced with her. So that kind of tells us that even though she picked up the good win, I don't know how is it gonna be easy for her to warm up with the others, even if Red Velvet does return. Next match, we have El Helico Private Party, the Butcher and the Blade, along with Jora Joel, taking on Waves Curls, Julia Cruz, Victor Chase, and Joey Ace. Now, they didn't do so much in this type of match, but what was interesting is how it ended with Angelico not doing the Navarro death roll. He did a different type of submission. Now, I don't remember who it was that he applied it to, but it shows that he can do more than just one submission. So it was interesting that he didn't do the same submission that he normally would do, which was kind of curious. Now let's move on to the next. We have QT, the Factory, all four members taking on Bobby Orlando, Bryce Donovan, Brett Gustafson, and who's the other guy? Oh, T. Tug Hooper. Now, you know this type of match will end in favor of the Factory, but of course, this one goes to the credit to QT Marshall when he applied the Diamond Cutter in order to win. Now, speaking of the Factory, there was, we do have, of course, Serpentico with Luther. Well, we don't know where Luther is taking on Cole Carter. Now, Cole Carter is one of those new wrestlers that now is making headways, but you know, in this particular case, that QT Marshall is keeping an eye on that, because last time QT Marshall invited him to join the Factory, thinking that he needs better guidance and all this other stuff. So I don't know how this one goes, but during an interview, he accepted QT's invitation. So basically, we saw a new member join the Factory. Now, our next match, we have, of course, Athena versus Christina Marie. As you know, this one ends with that one move with Athena. It kind of goes in that favor, too. Now, our main event, we got Emi Sakura, Marina Shafir, and Nyla Rose, along with Vicky Guerrero, to take on Willow Nightingale, Toni Storm, and Hikaru Shida. Now, this match, I have to say, was pretty good. I liked it, but it was, of course, I think it was Toni Storm. I don't remember who it was, but it was Toni Storm who picked up the win, I think, or it was Hikaru. But it was a good one, giving them the much bigger edge, and I think it was a pretty good, solid team with, you know, Nightingale, Storm, and Shida. I know that Sakura and Nyla have actually teamed up in the past, but having Marina Shafir, it kind of turns it into a much deadlier team. So it was okay. So I have no problem with it, but I think that's pretty much it right now with this review. Let's move on to our last news updates. Okay, so here are some news updates now. As you know, the upcoming Garden State Pro Wrestling takes place this coming month on the 27th of August. Now, it was announced that Edith Surreal will be participating in this event. Now, the thing is this, she was supposed to be participating in the last one, Welcome to Eden, the debut show, but due to the COVID situation, she was unable to do it. And she was supposed to team up with Heather Monroe, but Balinaki at short notice took her position. But now she's back, and I'm very glad that the Garden State decided to give her this opportunity to make up for what she missed. It's still unclear what match she's going to be involved in, but we will keep tabs on that. Now, you may have heard what's been going on in the world of New Japan. It was later revealed that Karl Fredericks is no longer with the promotion. It's kind of sad, but here is a statement he put out on his Twitter page. As of today, August 1st, I am no longer under contract with New Japan Pro Wrestling. I will not be resigning with the company at this time. Though there is disappointment in the ending of this chapter, I am grateful for the last 4 years traveling the world, growing with my best friends. I want to say thank you to the company for the opportunities, especially thank you to Shibata-san for believing in me, bringing me along to the journey with the LA Dojo. Last but not least, thank you to my fans, and thank you New Japan Pro Wrestling fans for your support over these years. I hope you will continue to support me along my path wherever that may lead. Now, it is a little saddened that he's gone, but as you know, there's the old saying, when one door closes, another one opens. So it's still unclear where is he going to go. I know some of you guys will probably think he's going to AEW. We don't know that. We don't know if Tony Khan is interested in him, but we will see where this leads up. But I will follow on his social media, see if there's any hints or clues where he's going. Now, I don't know how you WWE fan base out there feel, but there's reports coming out saying that WWE are now coming into terms in having a new deal for Naomi and Sasha Banks. Now, some of you WWE fans who felt disappointed for what those two did, saying they don't deserve to come back, those are saying, we just want Naomi. Thing is, I cannot confirm if this is 100% because they're saying there's conflicting reports about what's been going on. However, as you know, because of the recent departure of Vince as no longer being part of the company anymore, retiring, we don't know still what it is. But if that's the case, then we will find out as soon as possible. Now, as for all of you who know this, I'm a big fan of the Cosmic Angels, especially their new allies, the colors. Saki and Hikari Shimizu has put on their Twitter they have will be participating in 2 tag team matches from 2 different promotions. The first one is going to be from Pro Wrestling Wave, where they will be challenging the current tag team champions. This became by request by Saki herself, where she wants to do this with her tag partner Hikari Shimizu, who's always been by her side. But the other one is more of a tournament-based type by iServant called Tax Wrestling Volume 7. Now, I have seen this Tax Wrestling before. It was very interesting, but hopefully they do. If they pick up 2 tag team titles, this is going to be good. And not only that, it would also show that the Stardom fan base who follow Cosmic Angels should invest in watching colors from now on. So yeah, so I'm just putting it out there for all of you. If you guys are big Pro Wrestling Way fans or Ice Ribbon fans, or just simply the colored fan base. So I think that's pretty much it what we got here. I believe it's time to call it a day. Well, I hope everybody enjoys this episode. As you know, I was thankful that I was able to do the 2 days of the opening rounds of Stardom. I know some of you are saying, why did I do the pre-shows? Why did I wait? Well, I decided not to wait any longer, just to give a taste of something to all the Stardom fans who watch this channel, who enjoy the reviews. That's why I did it. So, as you know, there will be more to come, and of course, everything else will be different. Now, for the upcoming episode, as you know, it's Tuesday Wrestling. We have not only NWA Power, AEW Dark, and NXT 2.0. I just recently found out we do have a New Japan Pro Wrestling event. Continuing on with the G1, I'm excited to see who will be making their wins in this one. If there's anything else, hopefully, if I do have time, I may throw in maybe a 5th review. Not 100% sure yet, but we'll see how that goes. If there's any new things been going on in the pro wrestling world, I'll let everybody know. But, however, for now, I'll see you guys in the next DWZ time. Same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye. Mwah. And have a nice day. Bang.